Hey, what's up? How you doing today? What's good? You know what we're doing today? We're getting our work in, working out every day until MAGA releases the Epstein files. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why MAGA attracts incels, how to stop being an incel. Okay, this is not to insult anybody. This is to help young men who've been given bad information. Okay? Because being an incel is a choice, but a lot of these incels don't know that it's a choice. They think that if I say what they, because this is a real word, it means involuntarily celibate. You want to find romance, but you can't, okay? And a lot of these people have internalized that something within them is broken, and I'm here to tell them, you're not broken, you've been given bad information. You are kept full of rage and bad information by people who use it to extract your obedience and money. We're going to talk about that real quick. And then we're going to get our workout in and talk about anything the chat wants to talk about, react to some videos we've got lined up. But let's get into how to stop being an incel and what quality women are really looking for in a man. Okay? And you see I've got up on the board the golden rule we're going to talk about, patience, we're going to talk about somebody that they can imagine growing old with. Okay, somebody you could imagine growing old with. Think about everything that goes into that and how it can be different for different people, just like going to different restaurants. They believe that the other person would make a good parent. Even if they're not intending to have kids, it doesn't mean you have to have children. But an upstanding member of the community, somebody that children and young men could look up to, who if they were a parent, would be the kind of parent that we would all want to have. And finally, if you check those boxes, you can ruin it all by being a selfish lover. Everybody wants a generous lover. This goes back into the golden rule, treating people the way that we want to be treated. So let's kind of break this all down, then we're going to get our workout in and react to some videos. Men who build mutual, honest relationships cannot survive inside a misogynistic movement that rewards grievance, denial, and control over others. Integrity and equality are attractive. Resentment, self-delusion, and social weakness are unattractive. If you want out of the cult, if you want out of MAGA, if you want out of being an incel, I will show you the exact steps and bring any receipts that you need, and I will show up for you. Here, there will never be a sponsor on this channel. I am not trying to sell you anything. I'm here to help young men while I document working out every day till MAGA releases the Epstein files. Incel is a treatable condition. It's not a life sentence. There is a ladder away from being an incel, and one of the biggest first steps that an incel could take would be cognitive behavioral therapy. It's the gold standard for social anxiety and stuck thinking, conditioned thinking, indoctrinated thinking. You can get CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, online, over the internet. There's also skill programs meant to help reduce loneliness. Okay, therapy is a place to start because, again, being an incel is a treatable condition. It means that you have had bad information poured into you. Because everybody on earth is capable of attracting high quality partners if they're willing to put in the work and actually be the people high quality partners are looking for. And step one is the golden rule, treating people the way that you would want to be treated. And it can't be fake. You can smell a fake from a mile away. And this is why you have to have patience. You're not going to be able to just decide you're going to live up to these characteristics and change overnight. That is the appeal of MAGA. That's the appeal of a cult, is you just put on the hat and suddenly you're all these things. And we all know that's fake. That self-delusion is repulsive to high-quality women. Having the patience to learn what living by the golden rule really means, what it feels like, what it looks like, knowing that when you mess up, you tell yourself the truth and you own it, and you say, I'm gonna do better next time because I love myself enough to be honest. I love the people around me enough to be honest with them. I don't need to be in self-denial and self-delusion. So anybody can choose to live by the golden rule, and that is attractive. Is it the only thing? If you just live by the golden rule, but you're hard to get along with, hard to be with, you're not interesting, you don't have any hobbies, you don't have anything to talk about, you just play video games all the time, you have not the first clue of what it would take to be a good parent. Okay, all of these things matter, but it starts with the golden rule. The golden rule is the platform that informs everything else that comes next. Being somebody that a partner that you would want to grow old with would want to grow old with. It takes the patience and the self-discipline to become that. If you take an honest look in the mirror and you say, there's nothing about me that would make somebody want to spend years with me. There's nothing about me that would be interesting to just hang out with every night and be together every night. Then you have to change that. You have to tell yourself the truth and you have to do the work, but it can be done. Anybody can do it. And that's the problem with stopping being an incel, is you have some people who've just been given bad information, and if you show them the way, they will put in the work and they will change their lives for the better, and they will learn that there was nothing wrong with them. They were not broken. They simply didn't have the software to be what they really wanted to be. There's that group of people. Then there's another group of people who, just like drug addicts, decide that they don't want to do any work. And that if women aren't going to give themselves to them without doing any work, with being a horrible person who lives against the golden rule, that they're just going to get off on rage and anger and join a party that tells them women are subservient, women are less equal, and they're going to live in that self-delusion because they don't want to put in the work it would take to be the version of themselves somebody would want to grow old with. Because no matter who it is, there is an actual version of Donald Trump somewhere inside him that a decent, high-quality woman would want to grow old with. But that's not the version we see. You can manifest. That's where free will comes in. Okay, you get information poured into you, and what you choose to do with it shows who you are. And if you don't like what you're showing, you can change, but it takes the patience to put in the work. Women want a man that they believe would be a good parent, and that is everything that you look at in your childhood that you didn't have. Be the puzzle piece of that. Fill in the gaps. Make yourself that. Have the patience, the truth, and the love for yourself to become the person that would have been your ideal parent. That is attractive to women. Again, it's not the only thing. It's part of all of these things put together, but nobody wants to be with someone they think would be a bad parent. Do people procreate with people they know would be bad parents? Yeah, it happens all the time. It's called like alcohol, it's called lust, it's called emotion. But when you're sitting in a quiet place and you're thinking and you're imagining your ideal life, you imagine growing old with someone who would be a great parent. You have to have the truth and the patience and the discipline to make yourself into that person, and that type of person could never be MAGA. This is how this is all connected. You cannot stand for these things that quality women are looking for and be okay with MAGA. They will kick you out because they represent the opposite. Somebody says turn ads off during the live stream. I have them turned on as low as possible. But I'll take that into consideration. Okay, so beyond therapy that can help someone who doesn't have any of these skills begin developing these skills, begin to see that yes, you can become someone that quality women desire, but you can't fake it. But you can put in the work and you can become that, and cognitive behavioral therapy can help young men who've never had good information poured into them it can help those young men see the bridge away from where they currently are to where they want to be. That's cognitive behavioral therapy. There's online courses, there's cheap versions. If you need help figuring something out, I am here to help for free. I'm not selling you anything. We're going to talk about identifying when people are sponsored and when they're selling you things, and how their information is going to be different. It's going to be a quick fix. It's going to be that you're the victim and you just need to do one thing and everything will change. No. What I'm selling you is hard work, but it's easy work. It's hard because it will take patience, it will take time, it will take the integrity to mean what you're doing, to stand on what you're doing around people who will try to detour, distract, and detract from you. In that way, it's hard. It's easy in the sense that it's a proven pathway. If you are these things, you will not have a problem with romance in your life, period. After therapy, there's an idea of social reps. Like, we're going to do reps of exercise today, to build our muscles. And the more reps we do, the more days we do them, the more we build. We're going to talk about, after understanding that you can become somebody that many other partners that you would want to grow old with would also grow old with. Once we get somebody to the place of understanding that can be them, with some honest self-reflection, some work, some patience, and self-discipline, once they understand that that can be them, then we start talking about social repetitions. And that is doing things that you're truly in love with doing around strangers in a way where you will naturally interact and mingle. And remember, you have to be about the golden rule and patience already. Because if you come into these circles and you're creeping and you're just trying to skip the first steps and go straight to, I'm just going to learn how to be a social butterfly, but I don't live by the golden rule, I don't have patience, I wouldn't make a good parent, I'm not necessarily somebody you would want to grow old with, and you go and start socializing, you're going to have a bad reaction because people can see through the bullshit. Before you go out and start getting social reps, you need to be grounded in the golden rule. So that if you are not a particular partner's flavor, you know you're man enough, true enough, loving enough, about liberty enough not to take that personally any more than somebody liking a different restaurant than you. If somebody likes to eat a completely different set of restaurants than you do you take that personally? No. But you're taught and indoctrinated to take this rejection personally, because then there are groups that can use that feeling to control you, to grift you, to sell to you, to keep you sick like Big Pharma. And I'm here to give you the real medicine that's free. It will not cost you anything except for honesty and self-work, and you have to be willing to give up self-delusion that you can go and socialize with people and not be a genuinely good person and see the women that you're looking for as the independent, beautiful, autonomous human beings that they are, and respect their free will. If they don't want to eat at your restaurant, it's not any bigger of a deal than they like, Italian food and you like Spanish food. They like sushi and you don't. Whatever it is, do not take it personally. If you follow the golden rule, you have to understand you deserve somebody who is as much about you as you are about them. And so social reps comes after patience. This is where patience comes into play. You start getting comfortable with socializing just because other human beings are interesting. Just because it's fun to meet new people. Or it's at least interesting. Some people are like, no, it's not fun, but you can't say it's not interesting. And if you don't have romance and you want romance, socializing is going to have to be a part of it. We can chop it up however you want, but you got to ask real questions. Otherwise, for people who watch this video later, I'm just going to get through the whole thing in a coherent way. But we can stop and chop it up, but you have to ask meaningful questions. You can't just attention seek. This is something incels try to do, is when they've had bad information poured into them, they really want attention, but they don't really know what kind of attention they want. Okay, and we're going to get into that being, you don't want to grow old with somebody who's just seeking attention all the time for unresolved childhood issues. So the golden rule and the patience, like if I come in somebody's chat and I want to interact with them, I'm going to interact with them the way that I would want somebody to interact with me if I was live streaming. The golden rule is the basis of everything, and when we see people who don't respect it, who don't live by it, all good people are put off. No quality women are going to ever want to grow old with men who reject the golden rule. So social reps coming with patience means that as you're getting comfortable socializing around things that you already love doing, you're not being creepy, you are grounded in the mystery of what's going to happen next. Who am I going to meet tomorrow? Where is this friendship going to go? But you're patient and you don't try to force anything, and you don't act needy and you don't act desperate, because you're working on yourself and you know that eventually you're going to find somebody who sees the work, who is attracted to the work, and when they uncover all the layers, at the bottom of it is somebody who lives by the golden rule. Somebody who's a good person, who would be a good parent, who would be great to grow old with because they're always working on themselves and they really care about other people. And they're patient enough to take time to do hard things. And of course, you can ruin all of that by not being a generous lover. But that comes with the golden rule. Anybody who truly treats other people the way they want to treat, the way that they want to be treated, is always going to be a generous lover. But if you do those things, you really live by the golden rule. You really have patience to work on yourself and just marinate in socializing with other people, not try to force anything, just enjoy the interactions and trust, like minerals and polarized molecules find their way to the right pole of a magnet, that you are going to attract the right people, the people who are looking for the right things. All of the self-work that it would take to create your ideal parent for a future child, you have to be willing to do. You don't have to finish that work to meet somebody, but you have to really be doing that work for a quality woman to be like, I could imagine growing old with that person. Because they are always striving to be the best version of themselves. That is attractive. And it can manifest in all kind of different ways. You don't have to be in physically great shape to attract romance, but you have to be somebody that a woman thinks would be a good parent. Even if you're not going to be parents, you have to be somebody that they could imagine growing old with, even if that relationship doesn't last. These are the things in our imagination, the thing that we believe after interacting with people, that make people attract to each other. And good women, the type of high quality women that you want to get, because any of the women in MAGA, it's not an insult to them, but they're in a misogynistic cult where they've been indoctrinated by religion to be subservient to men. They aren't even themselves. They have so much trauma and so many issues because they're in that cult. Any of these quality women I'm talking about are not going to be MAGA because they're never going to tolerate being treated as subservient. And if you feel like you need to dominate or treat a woman as less than, it comes from childhood trauma. It's not real. Being a mother and a father is an equal job. It takes equal respect. Both people have to pull their weight. Both people have to have the respect of the other for the children to get the most benefit. And parents who care about all of that are going to be attracted to each other. Cut your rage/grifting feed. If you unfollow outrage peddlers for 30 days, replace them with evidence-based mental health/relationship channels. Notice, are they sponsored? Are they selling you anything? Always notice if they're sponsored. Always notice if they're selling anything. And always follow the money. Always be vigilant and discerning, lest somebody sell you poison in the name of medicine. We have to discern things. We have to, it's not calling somebody an incel as an insult. It's saying this is a real condition. And these young men's lives are hurting, and they're being grifted by these rage grifters who sell them Sherry's berries and, 30-day how to talk to women courses. And these people don't even have meaningful relationships. They never had. They're not investigating their sources. They're not identifying clearly what they're trying to attract. They're looking for a quick fix. Pay some money, and that'll be that. You don't have to do any work. They're always selling you something when they tell you that. The free information that actually works takes work. It takes patience. It takes time. It takes actually changing yourself as a person if you're not living according to the golden rule. No quality woman is ever going to be attracted to a man who does not live by the golden rule. They might end up with them like Melania Trump with Donald Trump. If you think they look like a happy couple, this channel is not for you. You are so delusional, like I can't help you. But if you see that even Donald Trump's wife detests him, cannot stand to be with him, then you will start to understand why this stuff matters. If you think you're going to attract quality women just because you have money like Donald Trump, but it doesn't matter how you got it or what kind of person you are, and you want somebody to spend their life with you looking at you the way she looks at him, I don't know what to tell you. But if you are trying to find men who are with high quality, beautiful, independent, successful women who still love each other as much after almost 20 years as day one, then I can help you. And I'm not going to sell you anything. And I'm not going to ask you to lie for me. I'm not going to ask you to look the other way about who I used to be best friends with. You got to consider the source. And if you're following incels and they're selling you rage, you've got to follow the money. I've got nothing to sell you. I'm here to make a point at how the worst people in society can make you forget about the Epstein files by just burying you with other BS, and how it all works together. If these incels learned how to find romance, they would leave MAGA, because you can't be the type of man that is red-pilled or MAGA and attract high-quality women. You just cannot. Why men succeeding with high-integrity women cannot stay MAGA. Okay, and this is not to insult. This is not to condemn. This is to say, here is a bridge out of this. I can show you a path out of this rage cult if you're tired of the BS, if you're tired of the lies, if you're tired of the grifting, if you're tired of the rage cycle. I can show you how to get to liberty, truth, and love, where good people are waiting to call you brother, are waiting to help you for free, to put a hand down and say, I've been there, you just need better information, you can do this too. You can become the man that you want to be. You just need good information. You need people who aren't trying to scalp you while they teach you. Healthy love runs on equality, empathy, honesty, and repair. Healthy love runs on equality, empathy, honesty, and repair. Those traits are anti-correlated with sexism and misogyny, which again, sexism and misogyny are both statistically proven to show that somebody supports Donald Trump. If your relationship is thriving, you are training the opposite muscles of your brain from the MAGA, grievance, rage addiction, anti-liberty politics. If your relationship is thriving, if you live by the golden rule, if you're somebody that high quality women would imagine growing old with, that high quality women would believe would make a good parent, and you're a generous lover, you are not going to be MAGA, period. Women opt out of MAGA dating. Countless surveys have shown single women are disproportionately unwilling to date Trump supporters. which reflects lived boundaries around respect and values. That means these women know that if you're willing to support Donald Trump, you're going to violate their boundaries around respect and values, because you cannot be these things that high quality women are looking for and also be MAGA. It's impossible. So they know. It's study after study shows women, if they find out somebody's a Trump supporter or MAGA, I don't need to hear anything else. And that's the same way you hear that a certain plant is poisonous, you're like, I don't need to hear anything else, I'm not eating that plant. The difference is these people could choose not to be poisoned. They can choose to live by the golden rule. They can choose to uphold higher values that they want for themselves, like liberty, truth, and love for all people, which is the golden rule. Doing unto others what you wouldn't have people do to you. Having the patience to do actual self-work, not wanting a get romance quick scheme, but the patience to put in the work, the patience to put themselves out socially without being creepy, with just letting things happen, being at peace with themselves, and knowing that they are becoming more every day that somebody would want to grow old with, becoming more every day somebody who would make a great parent, becoming every day a more generous lover. These people will not have trouble with romance, but they will also never be MAGA. That's why women can say point blank, if they're MAGA, say no more. I'm not going to even give them the time of day, because I know that they don't live up to these values that I'm looking for. That any high quality woman, because a high quality woman is going to live by the golden rule. A high quality woman is going to be somebody you can imagine growing old with, that you believe would make a great or good parent, who would be a generous lover to you. And they're not going to be MAGA. It's all connected, and everything in MAGA is meant to sell you self-delusion, that you can change by just joining this gang, by just giving up on these principles that you want for yourself, because you cannot live by these principles inside of MAGA. You will not survive. They will not accept you. The videos we're going to watch today, and I'm working out every day until they release the Epstein files, because I will not let this disgusting bitch of a human being bury the lead, which is everything coming out from the FBI and DOJ says that the Epstein files are even worse than Republicans imagine. And everybody's just going to be okay with hiding this, because when you're in this cult, you do not care what's true, you demonstrate loyalty to the jersey. And that is the opposite of the type of quality partner that any quality women are looking for. Okay? So compatibility matters. Couples aligned on core politics are more stable statistically by overwhelming margin. If your personal growth is going towards empathy and equity, MAGA will fight you and reject you if you stand on the golden rule. You cannot stand on the golden rule in MAGA. You will be rejected and fought and attacked. And the golden rule is step one for stopping incelery. Okay? This is the connection. To even start to leave incelery behind and become someone who can be romantically fulfilled, whatever that looks like for you. The very first step you have to take, which is living by the golden rule to find quality partners, rules you out from MAGA. I don't know what else to tell you other than I'm here for you. I'm not here to insult you. I'm here to say you don't have to be this. Why would you want to live against the golden rule? And we've talked about that in other videos, and the reasons are many. The reasons are usually they've never traveled outside the city that they were raised in. They didn't have the best parental influences, which is not your fault. It's not necessarily your parents' fault. Maybe your parents got bad information all the way back. That doesn't mean you can't use your free will as a human being to choose a better path. A lot of it is people can't admit that their daddy was wrong, that their daddy's not strong, that their daddy's not loving. And again, maybe daddy got roped into the cult and didn't have the tools to overcome it. It's not about blame, it's about saying, we can't call cancer cells and white blood cells just cells. We have to distinguish what's life-giving from what's life-attacking. We cannot refuse to call kudzu a weed, and a medicinal herb medicine. We have to distinguish. That's our survival. Our lives depend on making accurate distinctions. And if you can't distinguish that the golden rule is what's holding you back from romance, I'm here to give you that for free. It's not sexy, I'm not selling it to you, I'm not hiding it and then like, oh, here's the secret information. It's just right there. And it's coming from somebody who was raised to live by that and taught on a deep level why it matters, why it makes my life better to treat other people the way that I would want to be treated. And so I've seen all throughout my life in all of the different experiences I've had that a lot of people were not raised with anything like that. And it's not about fault. It's about saying, because I have always treated, if you only treat women by the golden rule, then it's fake. I was the dude in school who bullied bullies, made them stop bullying the kid that was getting picked on by bullying them, and then made everybody be friends. And I found out my whole life that's attractive to women. It's attractive to people in general. They like somebody who is a peacemaker. And when you're bullying a bully, you're not doing it to show them that you're bigger than them. You're doing it to say, how does it feel? It feels bad, right? Okay, let's all stop. Let's all treat people the way we would want to be treated. And then the bully is like, you know what? Yeah, this dude I was picking on, it didn't even have to do with him. It has to do with how my dad's treating me, how my coach is treating me, the girl broke up with me, whatever. It's always an insecurity, and you're there to say, yeah, I know, man, I fall into that shit too. I need you to hold me accountable as a brother. I'm gonna violate the golden rule because I'm gonna get in my emotions. Something's gonna happen. We're not perfect. We tell the truth because we love the truth and we love ourselves and we love our brothers and sisters enough to be honest and be accountable and say, when I fall into being a bully, please bully me back. Tell me to stop. Keep me in check so that we are all on the common ground that the golden rule gives everybody. But when you live by it your whole life, I've never been the most attractive dude anywhere at any time, but I have never had trouble in romance my entire life because I treated women with the same respect that I treat everybody, which is the respect I want people to treat me with. I never took it personally if a girl wasn't attracted to me, like I wouldn't take it personally if we liked different kinds of food. But I also had the experiences to learn that there is somebody for everybody if you are a good person. If you're not a good person, you don't even want to spend time with yourself. That's why Trump is miserable, Elon Musk is miserable, Stephen Miller is miserable. All of these leaders of MAGA have miserable, boring, rage-filled lives because they can't tell themselves the truth. They can't face that they want the golden rule, but they refuse to give it to other people. And so they continue to suffer. And part of that suffering is making money off other young men going through the same thing that Donald Trump went through when he was an incel. Because that man, people who get romance don't lash out at other groups of people. The same way that I told you women can rule somebody out if they're MAGA, you can tell if somebody's been an incel their whole life. But you don't have to stay that way. Donald Trump doesn't have to stay that way. But step one is the golden rule. All right, we're gonna watch some videos about the craziness of new Epstein emails have come out showing that Donald Trump was hanging out with these girls, okay? I'm gonna let the videos speak for themselves. I'm gonna get my workout in, but suffice to say, We are going to talk about the Epstein files every fucking day until MAGA releases them. And you can't say the Democrats, should release them under Joe Biden. No, the Democrats are saying release them today. We have the votes. We don't care if there's Democrats on the list. We want to see it. So we're not the same. All the spin that you're about to see is not equal. There is a group of people saying, we don't care if Bill Clinton's on there. We don't care who is on there. Show us the files. And there's the group of people putting their heads up there, to protect PDFs. The opposite of the golden rule. All of this is connected. You cannot be and expect a quality romantic partner if you are MAGA because you live against rule number 1, which is the golden rule. Alright, with that, we're going to get into the videos, and I'm going to get my workout in, and I'm going to let Ben Mycelis, the I've Had It ladies, Adam Mokler, I'm going to let them break some of this stuff down while I get a workout in. If you guys want to talk about anything in the chat, let me know. Otherwise, let's put in this work every day until MAGA releases the Epstein files.
If you live in a Colorado, Utah...
We got some breaking news in the Epstein-Ghislaine Maxwell cover-up scandal, and all of it is bad for Donald Trump. Got 3 new emails that were just released by the Oversight Committee, obviously a reaction to the reporting that Ghislaine Maxwell is seeking to have her sentence commuted, clemency be granted to her by Donald Trump. Not so fast, says the Oversight Committee, based on these emails, none of which are good for Donald Trump. One that suggests that he spent hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with an underage or girl victim. And then some other reporting about Michael Wolff, the reporter. Let's put this in context here on the Midas Touch Network and on Legal AF. You've got today Representative Adelita Grijalva from the 7th District in Congress from Arizona, who is going to be sworn in. They had to reopen Congress finally in order to presumably to end the shutdown. And one byproduct of that is that Grijalva, who won a special election over 6 weeks ago, will finally be sworn in. What's the impact of that on the Epstein scandal? She will sign the discharge petition, giving 218 signatures to get out of a committee a bill to the House floor to release all of the Epstein files to the American people. That happened today, and that, of course, is terrible for Donald Trump, because it keeps the Epstein scandal and his cover-up involvement alive. We also have separate reporting that came out this week that Republican congresspeople who have been briefed about what's inside the Epstein files believe they are worse for Donald Trump and for others than previously reported. And that's coming out of some new reporting as well. So you have those two things as a backdrop. That Ghislaine Maxwell seeking to have her sentence commuted, reporting that she's getting a sweetheart treatment, like a Beverly Hills style treatment within her federal prison, which is pissing off a lot of other prisoners and people providing oversight. And now you have the new emails. Let's get to the emails. Here's the 3, and we'll post them in Legal AF Substack. First, you have the email about
listen to this.
From Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, April 2nd, 2011. I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Blacked out, redacted victim's name, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. I'm not sure what that exactly means. Ghislaine Maxwell responds, I've been thinking about that. So here we have Epstein in real time in 2011 saying that Donald Trump spent hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house, apparently, with a victim. And that he's surprised that Donald Trump hasn't been implicated back in 2011 when there were all this reporting that had broken out in the British press about Epstein. And Ghislaine Maxwell agrees. Recall that when Ghislaine Maxwell was interviewed I'm going to show you a clip here. She denied in her deposition that was released by Donald Trump's Department of Justice that Donald Trump had done anything wrong. Well, apparently she had forgotten this email. And of course, Todd Blanche, who did the investigation for Donald Trump, the evaluation of her testimony, didn't have these documents, didn't want these documents, and didn't ask her about these documents. So she obviously lied to the American people and to Todd Blanche. Let's play the clip of that interview and then put it up against this email. Let's run it.
Photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together.
Yes.
And there's photographs of, I think you're in some of the photographs as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yes. That's my memory. If there was social settings, I don't know Epstein's, if he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein, I was never witness. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall it.
I've been thinking about a victim who had spent hours with Donald Trump in Jeffrey Epstein's house and what that could mean. Ghislaine Maxwell seems to have forgotten all that when she's trying to pretty herself up and act like a victim in order to get her sentence commuted and get a pardon. Then there's an interesting email exchange.
So, when Donald Trump sent his former personal attorney to interview Ghislaine Maxwell before she got moved into this cushy prison life where now she's reported to be getting extreme preferential treatment and she's applying to have her sentence pardoned, okay, they released this acting job of an interview, but even in the fake BS interview that they released of Ghislaine Maxwell, she says that she never saw Trump with any young girls. Well, emails have come out today, her emailing Jeffrey Epstein specifically talking about Donald Trump spending hours with one of the blacked out redacted victims. So clear proof that she's lying, that the Trump regime is lying, but all anybody has to do is watch how they are trying to keep these files from seeing the light of day like their lives depend on it.
Michael Wolff in 2015 had an exchange, the journalist, with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, he's written a number of books about Trump. He was working on a book about Jeffrey Epstein. He's been very public about the information and knowledge he obtained. Here, though, there's an exchange between Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein about if Jeffrey Epstein is questioned or Donald Trump is questioned and how that should go. A little bit of PR coaching here, it appears at first blush. Michael Wolff to Epstein. I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. This is December 15, 2015. And he then says, Epstein says in response, if you were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? And he writes back to Epstein, I think you should let him hang himself, talking about Trump. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency, meaning Epstein knows that's not true. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like you could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime.
Camping World is America's used RV supercenter. We have over 20.
So this is an email with Jeffrey Epstein talking to Michael Wolff about Jeffrey Epstein having dirt on Donald Trump. Back in some of Donald Trump's first debates, okay, he's emailing Michael Wolff and basically asking Michael Wolff, how should I play this information? And Michael Wolff is running through the different options that Epstein has because of the dirt he has on Trump.
So there's a little bit of coaching by Michael Wolff, the journalist. And then you have on the resignation issue. Donald Trump always says he had Jeffrey Epstein resign. He barred him from Mar-a-Lago. When he found out he was a creep, through other reporting, we think the timeline is different. We think the timeline is Donald Trump had a fight with Jeffrey Epstein over a $44 million piece of property in Palm Beach County. And when Donald Trump had to bid more than he wanted to, because Jeffrey Epstein was the stalking horse in the auction at the courthouse, he sort of was pissed off about it. And that is the beginning of the end of the friendship between Epstein and Trump, having nothing to do with him thinking he was a creep. Although that doesn't help Donald Trump, because if he thought he was a creep, he thought he was a creep because he was sexually abusing girls, raping them. And if he knew that at the time, why didn't Donald Trump report that to the authorities? Here's what the Q&A between Wolf and Epstein is in 2019 about a victim whose name is blacked out, Mar-a-Lago. And Trump said he asked me to resign, but I'm never a member, ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. What could that be? Ghislaine Maxwell using as a predator the hunting ground of Mar-a-Lago to get women, girls, as Epstein calls them, over to Jeffrey Epstein and allowing it, and then deciding to tell him to stop. So all Trump did was to tell Ghislaine Maxwell to stop her predator behavior of picking up girls and having them be sexually exploited and raped by Jeffrey Epstein. He doesn't call the authorities. He doesn't call the police. He doesn't call out his friends like Prince Andrew. I mean, this revelation obviously calculated these three emails now to push back against and shove back against the drumbeat to try to get Ghislaine Maxwell and her pardon, her asking for all of that, the new reporting that shows that what's inside of the files, which hopefully will now be released by Grijalva, now Adelita Grijalva, Representative Grijalva, being sworn in and signing the discharge petition. This is now regaining momentum now that the government is about to reopen. We'll continue to follow it, all of it, as Donald Trump continues to cover up what some reporting has said is even worse information inside of the files about him than had previously been disclosed. And these emails indicate hours spent with a victim, a girl, in Jeffrey Epstein's home. Jeffrey Epstein questioning why no one's going after Donald Trump, shaping the PR around Donald Trump.
My opinion, my complete opinion, just based on everything that I've taken in, is that Donald Trump was a confidential informant against Jeffrey Epstein. And that's what Epstein and Maxwell are talking about in these emails, where he says, I'm 75% there on Trump. Like, I think he's the mole.
And his
in my opinion,
Donald Trump knowing about Ghislaine Maxwell using Mar-a-Lago as a predator hunting ground.
In my opinion, Jeffrey Epstein was a foreign intelligence asset used to get dirt on politicians and people of influence at every level. And Donald Trump was a confidential, in my opinion, Donald Trump had turned informant on Epstein because of something that got caught up with Mar-a-Lago. So when Epstein in the emails says, I'm 75% there on Trump, I think, in my personal subjective opinion, Epstein is telling Ghislaine, I think Trump is the mole. I think Trump is the rat.
That's just this week, folks. We'll continue to follow it. I'm glad you're here. Hit the free subscribe button.
But we're talking about the Epstein files every day until MAGA releases them to point out the absurdity. Let's hear what the I've Had It News ladies. Let's hear what the I Had It News ladies have to say about, man, all the spinning and lying that MAGA is trying to do about the Epstein files right now. It's like, you can't say that the Democrats, you can't say anything. The Democrats are saying, release the files, we don't care who's on them. We don't care if Democrats are on them. Release the files. The Republicans are saying no.
Busy as a bee, have not been able to look at one thing.
We're going to talk about it, but Trump is literally calling Republican congresspeople into the Situation Room into the situation room to try to get them not to vote for the Epstein files to be released. We're working out every day until they're released.
The news. So I'm going to kick it to our favorite host of the News Pumps, because apparently there is some piping hot Jeffrey Epstein tea that she called to tell me, and I was like, well, screw that, let's just do it live. So
Yeah.
what is going on?
Well, we have new emails from the Democratic Oversight Committee. So it was first broken by BBC, which I will say has been kind of ahead of the US journalism, in my opinion. I've been kind of watching this forever. But there's emails coming out that the Oversight Committee did not get from the Justice Department. No. They're getting them from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. So here's one of the new, one of the ones that we're seeing. Okay, so this is from someone to Michael Wolff. Okay, it's Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. One, okay. I'm old, my eyes don't work all the time. And so it has the victim's name redacted, and it says Mar-a-Lago. Trump said he asked me to resign. Never remember ever. Of course he knew about the girls, as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Hello, and that was from 2019. Within the last, the new Trump 2.0, he said, I kicked him out because Jeffrey stole girls from Mar-a-Lago. Bitch was in on it up to the tanks and vagina neck from jump. I mean, of course we knew that, because why would he be trying so hard to hide it? But this guy is such fucking liar, which we all knew. But it's coming out. Like, there's 23,000 emails I read that are coming out. We're just getting a trickle. I mean, and there's more to this.
It's coming out.
Okay, so
coming
let me get
out.
this straight. So
Okay.
in this email, Jeffrey Epstein says, of course he knew about the girls.
Of course.
Which, everybody forgets, we don't, but the people who defend Trump all the time, that he was on Howard Stern.
Yes.
And he said something that should have been not only like career ending as like a businessman, but for sure political ending. At the time he said this, he wasn't a politician, but Howard Stern was asking him, like, you like young girls? And he said, yes. And he said, 12 is as young as I go. And below that, no. But 12 and up, yes.
Right.
12 and up is fair. And then he also talks about how he would go into the Miss Teen USA and watch these teens, changing clothes. And there was also this girl that accused him of RAPE and was going to sue him. And then she got so many death threats, and I think she was 13 at the time.
Yeah.
That she withdrew, and now kind of nobody knows where she is. But of course, this man is knee deep in the middle of this entire thing. Otherwise, they would have released these immediately. But I think, we know he's a liar. We need to start really putting a lot of pressure on these Christians, like Pam Bondi, who wears her cross, Caroline Levitt, who just, and Moses Mike Johnson, who lie to cover up a pedophile and all of their pedophile friends. I mean, I cannot believe that this has not been career ending. But, also he did try to overthrow the government.
Right.
January
And
6th, so.
Okay, when you just said that about the Howard Stern, it reminds me at Trump's big announcement with RFK Jr. about vaccines. Remember, he said that you don't need to get I think it was hepatitis B, but it was one of the vaccines until you're 12, because that's when people normally become sexually active. So in his mind, 12 is, this just happened recently during this presidency. Like 12 was an acceptable number to start this whole vaccination thing. It's so terrifying when you think about these are the people in charge of the government. They're just not smart and they're corrupt. Okay, next one. Okay, this is originally to Ghislaine Maxwell from Jeffrey Epstein, and it says, I want you to realize that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim's name redacted. Spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. police chief, etc. I'm 75% there, which I'm dying to know what that meant. And then Ghislaine Maxwell responds, I have been thinking about that. So what's important, Trump spent hours at my house with the victim's name who has been redacted, which we've heard this over and over and over again. Trump was in the house. Howard Lutnick/Netlick said everything was recorded. He bribed people. We know Trump's there because we've seen pictures from the estate. The victims have shared the pictures, the influence that Trump, or that Epstein and Ghislaine both talked about with Trump. So now that makes me think there's a video. There is video, and that is, please let karma be real and that be released.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think if there was video, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pamela Bondi have absolutely ruined it and, just completely wiped it clean. That thing has been washed. I always wonder if, somebody at the FBI that had worked on this, or the U.S. attorneys, did they, get extra copies of stuff? Does somebody have the goods? This thing has been so protected. And I've never felt like, and the people that we've interviewed surrounding this that are not conspiracy theorists that worked on this, that were lawyers for the victims, I never felt like that suicide thing was plausible. I felt like he was killed. And Trump was in power when that happened. And this thing is not going anywhere. I mean, as mad as I am,
not only was Trump in power when Jeffrey Epstein died in prison, Jeffrey Epstein was emailing Michael Wolff at that time about information that he had on Trump. So we know that during that time, Jeffrey Epstein was letting a journalist know, hey, I've got this dirt on Trump. Trump's in power. Where are the videos? What's up, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino? Fucking losers.
I'm furious at the cowardice 8 senators and their
cowards.
leader, Chuckles, who
fucking
endorsed
cowards.
it, who said, yeah, go ahead and do it. I don't want to seem like a pussy, so I'm gonna give a plaque to it, so I'm gonna vote no. This does need to come out, and certain things we can look for in this, and we message for in this, and the Democrats need to message for, is the Republican Party is the party of crime and pedophiles, period. And every Democratic politician needs to say that as clearly and concisely as they can, over
I gotta
and
say
over
something.
and over. Little Moses Mike Grinder Johnson needs to be...
If they cared about PDFs, they'd be going into white evangelical Christian churches. Statistically, by the data, the number of PDFs in white evangelical Christian churches, it's so far and away the dominant number one place they come from, that for all these people to be in that party and not realize that, you have to be willfully blind. You have to really not care. So again, why do they talk about it all the time? They talk about whatever their leaders tell them to say. Just like cheerleaders memorizing a cheer. The cheerleaders don't care who wrote the cheers that they're cheering. They're just supposed to repeat them with enthusiasm. That's what cheerleaders do. And MAGA knows that it can be a party for people who don't take politics seriously, who just want an excuse and an outlet for their rage and self-delusion.
Completely put through the meat grinder on this. For him to sit around on his moral high ground and talk about, in a very bizarre way, how he monitors his kid's porn, and then in return his kid monitors him, and he's this big prude, and he married his daughter in a purity ring thing, and then he's covering up for these grown-ass men that molested and sexually abused and raped these little girls the same age as Moses Mike Grinder Johnson's daughter was, when he took her to that creepy purity ball thing and put a ring on her finger and said, your virginity's mine until I give it to your husband. And so we need to start calling him out. I mean, Democrats do. There's a German documentary maker who did a whole video of creepy Moses Mike marrying his daughter because he was so protective of her virginity. But yet he's so protective of all of these pedophiles that raped these.
How do these Christians reconcile trying to pretend that they're the defenders of morality and goodness with protecting PDFs? How do they reconcile those things? Well, if you know anything about the Bible, you know the story about Abraham being commanded to kill his son Isaac. Okay? And the Bible teaches in that story that if God tells you to kill a little kid, you kill the little kid. You do what your God tells you to do. Mike Johnson believes, because cult members, just like crack addicts, become severely mentally twisted to justify their addictions, Mike believes that by lying and protecting this PDF, Donald Trump, that he's doing what God wants him to do. That's how they do it. So we have to stop as liberals playing dumb, taking these things at face value, which is to say, you can't just confront people like Mike Johnson on the hypocrisy of marrying your daughter and saying that she's going to promise to be pure until marriage, whatever that means. You can't square that with defending the Epstein files not being released to protect Donald Trump. It makes no sense if you take it at face value. So don't take it at face value. You have to go a level deeper and say, Mike, you don't even believe what you're saying. You are a cheerleader. You are giving your loyalty and obedience to Donald Trump because you think in the twisted mind of an addict that that's what a deity wants you to do. You think that your deity wants you to lie to protect child abusers. You don't believe in that. You're doing it out of obedience because if you are disobedient to this gang, they will kick you out like Mike Pence. They might try to do what they did to Mike Pence. You know, they were erecting a gallows with signs on January 6th saying, "Hang Mike Pence, the MAGA vice president," because he dared stand up for what's right in that gang. If you're in that gang, you cannot stand up for what's right. They will destroy you. So Mike, it doesn't matter what he believes about PDFs. He is a cheerleader showing his loyalty to the jersey.
Girls. And a lot of these girls were poor because another thing that these MAGA Christians always prey on are poor people. Who fights in the front lines of all of these wars? Poor people. That's where they go. The military goes and recruits people. Who gets the bulk of all the MAGA dick over? Poor people. Who were the majority, overwhelming majority of all of these victims of Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, and others? Poor girls. And so these hypocritical, I have the moral high ground, religious Republicans, the messaging on this should start from the top. Hakeem's done it once, but it should be an onslaught, nonstop, beating it to where if you see a triple Trumper, you go, God, I didn't realize you were into pedophilia. It
Right,
needs to
I
be
didn't realize
that
you-
injected into the culture.
Yes.
Right, you condone pedophilia. Well, obviously you do. And I just want to remind everybody, Mike Johnson has been covering for pedophiles his entire career. He was going to be dean of the law school. His mentor was molesting girls, Southern Baptist Convention. Look it up. Okay, here's another one, which this came out, and this is originally from Michael Wolff to Jeffrey Epstein. And this is December 15th, 2015. I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on the air or in scrum afterwards. Epstein responds to Wolff, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? And Michael Wolff says, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang.
This is all right before he dies in jail. Before he dies in jail, he's talking to Michael Wolff about being able to use this information he has on Trump.
Him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. If it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when
You could save him, saying, you, Jeffrey Epstein, could save Donald Trump if he wins the election, and then he would owe you a debt. Well, how do you owe somebody a debt if they get offed?
she'll say Jeffrey is a great
And who was in power when Jeffrey Epstein got offed? Or offed himself?
guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in the Trump regime. I mean, here's the thing. Those of us that paid attention know that Trump's on the flight logs because it was entered into evidence in Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal trial. So this is not shocking news to me that he was on the log or in the house, but it is to some of these MAGA people who have been screaming, release the Epstein files.
And why would Jeffrey Epstein keeping this quiet generate a debt of Trump to him if Trump had nothing to hide? And again, they're emailing. They don't expect these emails are ever going to be turned over to a court. These are private emails that these men never thought would see the light of day before he ends up dead. Okay, these emails happened years ago, before any of this came out, and he's saying that Trump is going to owe you a debt if you stay quiet. Why? Why would there be a debt if Trump hadn't done anything wrong? Again, these are two men talking because they've both seen the material. They're not typing it for anybody else to see. These were taken from their email accounts after court cases happened. And what happens to Epstein? We all know. Who's in power when that happens? We all know. What state did it happen in? We all know.
That's wild. And Michael Wolff, he's really the premier expert on Jeffrey Epstein, and he's spent so much time with Jeffrey Epstein. And I've heard him in this interview, multiple different interviews, saying that he saw a photograph, and I believe that Michael Wolff is a credible journalist, that he saw a photograph of Donald Trump, who we refer to as Kanks, for spite, of Kanks in Jeffrey Epstein's one of his residences, and there were 2 or 3 topless girls next to him, and that he had a wet mark on his crotch, which we all know is probably a cum situation. It was unpleasant to think about, obviously.
Unpleasant, you can understate it.
But when you put all of his whole history with women, E. Jean Carroll, the bragging about the pageants, my cutoff age is 12. I want to fuck my daughter. I think my daughter's so hot. And then I think Jeffrey Epstein was a great guy. I wish him well. All of the lack of moral clarity and ambiguity surrounding all of this. You know, he's a sexual predator for president. He's a sexual deviant. And he always has been. I mean, no person that I know.
Something else. Donald Trump sues everyone who speaks negatively about him. He has not sued Michael Wolff for saying that there's a picture of Trump with stains on his pants, with underage girls standing beside him, pointing and laughing at it. That's the photo Michael Wolff says he has seen. A photo of Donald Trump surrounded by underage girls pointing at his crotch, which has a stain on it, covering their mouths and laughing. Donald Trump hasn't said shit about that. He sues everybody. You know why he's not suing Michael Wolff? because there would have to be discovery. It would get proven that that photo exists. So he has to just ignore it and trust that his followers are people who don't care what's true.
Would say that they think their daughter's hot, and if it
Yeah.
wasn't their daughter, they would date them. And that's really the most mild thing he's ever said as it pertains to women. They grab him by the pussy and all of this shit. So that's just, I believe that I believe Michael Wolff. He spent so much time with Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, and everything he's reporting and everything we're hearing and seeing in these emails tracks with his behavior from jump. I mean, this is a guy that called the New York Post to tell them, as an assumed voice, what a great lay Donald Trump was. That Marla Maples said he was the best he'd ever had. So clearly, this guy is obsessed with his absolute failure in the penis department and performance, and he is a deviant. I mean, you can't go any other way. Okay, next email we got today. So, from Michael Wolff to Jeffrey Epstein. Importance, high. There's an opportunity to come forward this week, and this was in 2016. There's an opportunity to come forward this week and talk about Trump in such a way that could garner you great sympathy and help finish him. Interested? Question mark.
Well, here's my question, and help finish him. Was there, you've stayed on top of this a lot, Marie, was there an effort that Jeffrey Epstein thought that he was a bad leader and needed to be finished?
No, I think, this is my guess, this is around the same time the grab him by the pussy tape came in and the Stormy Daniels stuff. So, because Trump really believed that would end his election, like he would never have been elected after all that, and went into damage control. So I think if the timing tracks with about the same time the grab him by the pussy and all that came out. So in my mind, the finish him is, if you come forward and say, yeah, Trump was in it up to his cankles and vagina neck, it's over. Because he
Okay.
Epstein
And
never
so
came out and
my question was, is it that, the way I read that was that Michael Wolff was saying you could finish him, like that this would be a favorable outcome, that Epstein would want this.
yeah. No,
That's there's no protection language in it, like if you do this, this is gonna really, like interested, like hey, this will finish him, like hey, I've got a way that we can get him eliminated.
Yeah, I think
Which-
that's what it was.
Exactly.
I think if he came out at that time and said everything he knew on the heels of grab him by the pussy and all that, because I think that said October 29th, which, was right around the time that whole thing was melting down for Trump, and people still voted for him. But
So Epstein had this information on Trump, talking to a famous journalist about when to release it, but he never pulled the trigger. He never released it before he met his demise in prison. What if the information was not Epstein's to release? What? What if all of that information belonged to another intelligence agency? Then Epstein could have it, talk about it, show proof of it like he did to Michael Wolff, but he's not in control of it. What happens if this agency who owns this information is aware that Epstein is talking about breaking the code and releasing it without their permission? What might happen?
I don't remember ever thinking that or hearing or reading that Epstein was against Trump. My guess is he loved the idea of Trump being president because he had shit on him.
I've read that he spoke about, this is really telling, but I've read that he spoke about how depraved Trump was and what horrible character he had, and which is shocking that Jeffrey Epstein.
Right? How bad is your character?
Right, and so I've actually read that that I don't think Epstein actually particularly cared for him as much. I think Trump liked Epstein a lot more than Epstein liked him, and I think that's probably the way a lot of Trump's relationships are.
Yeah. Well, and he's so easy to manipulate. Just ask Vladimir Putin. Okay, next email. This is interesting. Okay, so from Jeffrey Epstein to Kathy Rumor, I don't know how to say the last name. And it says, it's August 23rd of 2018. The principled case for impeachment is clear. What's missing is the coverage. And it says, here's a story from the New York Times, and I thought you'd find it interesting. And it's the principled case for impeachment is clear. What's missing is the courage. That was the headline at the time. And so then Jeffrey Epstein responds, I think he makes the argument that it was his, Trump's money, making it not illegal. Though he also said he only found out afterwards. And the fact, according to the indictment, was billed as services rendered and grossed up, I'm sure his account has flipped anyway. I did talk in detail to Starr yesterday, RE indictments, how Trump can make a deal, special counsel, Clinton's trash. Yes, Starr gave me more. Yeek! That's gross. That whole thing's gross. And then Kathy responds, it makes no difference whether it was his money. Issue is failure to disclose. Plus fact that he has lied his ass off about it makes it clear that he knew it was illegal. Well, adapt. Then Epstein responds, you see, I know how dirty Donald is. My guess is that non-lawyers, New York biz people have no idea what it means to have your fixer flip. What about that? He knows
That's the
how
thing.
dirty Donald is.
That's what I had read, that he had spoken about how depraved and vapid and this is coming from Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, as somebody who absolutely doesn't see the humanity in anything. Donald Trump's inhumanity and toxicity stuck out to him so much so. Here's the thing on all of this Epstein stuff, Pumps. We have all known that he was in it for a long time. When you see that he's so frail and then his art and crafts projects at the White House are starting to really unhinged. I mean, it's really I think even people with bad taste, when you see the Presidential Walk of Fame, are going to be like, does that really look good? Should all that really be outside? And he's going to build the Ark, the ballroom, all of this stuff. And he's frail on top of that. You hear him speak like he face planted in the Laura Ingraham interview. There's not a softball interview big enough that can cover for his dementia.
Right.
On top of the fact that all of this Epstein stuff is coming out, what's going to be interesting to watch, we're seeing some people in MAGA starting to turn away from him. Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Candace Owens,
Massey. You're starting to see some fissures. Will we start seeing that with Fox? Because I'm starting to see it a little bit. I saw that Fox was talking about inflation. That's really unbelievable. They had a graph that showed what prices were a year ago and what they are now. Fox, inside the Death Star, propaganda and lies that prop up this man. So it'll be interesting as we come back and record tomorrow to see how Fox is covering this. Usually it's crickets. Usually when they talk about Epstein, then you've got trans pool players in the UK or Ireland, and they're talking about that. That's typically where Fox goes. So if they pull out the trans card tonight on the Fab Five or the Fucked Up Five, whatever that show is, we'll know that they know how dangerous this is. But I wonder if they'll cover it. I wonder if, at one point Rupert crumpled up.
MAGA's followers know that Donald Trump is all over the Epstein files. They don't care. They do not care. They're trading truth and integrity for self-delusion and to be on the team of a cult that tells them they're great without putting in any work. Just by putting on a red hat, they get to play pretend with other delusional sociopath addicts who can't face reality. All right, y'all. We're going to work out every single day until these PDF lovers release the Epstein files. We'll be here. We'll see you tomorrow, 1:11 Mountain Time. This is Love and Liberty from Boulder, Colorado. Wishing you all the love and liberty that's possible wherever you are today. Much love. See you tomorrow.